Hello, everyone. Welcome to the best and worst of Walt Disney World. I am your host, Ryan O'Clavin, and in this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the top 4 worst things about Magic Kingdom. And to help me have this discussion, yes, I heard my accent, will be Mr. Charles Boda.
Hey.
Teresa Eccles.
Hey.
And Craig Williams.
Hey.
Hey. So last time we did our top 4 things that we liked most about Magic Kingdom, and now we're doing our top 5 worst things about top 4 worst things about Magic Kingdom. Sorry, the number of things kept shifting. So we're just going to dive right into this. I don't 100%. I'm on the fence with this one, but everybody else kind of agree with it. And Charles specifically, I think you and Craig probably have had the most experience with these. But restaurants is on this list in our number 4 thing, and we kind of decided as a group that restaurants aren't living up to the up to par with the rest of the park. Now, did you want to say specifically you feel this way about sit-down restaurants, right?
Yeah. It's not to say that there aren't like fun, cool snacks that you can get on Magic Kingdom that cycle out regularly or like tried and true favorites or anything like that. But when it comes to table service restaurants, a lot of times the quality and sometimes the quality of theming, but mainly the food quality is too theme parky when the other parks are kind of like upping their game in areas. I don't think, for those foodies out there who like all of the various Disney food options, I think Magic Kingdom kind of drops the ball when it comes to table service, just in general.
Yeah, I think Magic Kingdom is very good at creating specific food items that are worth going out of your way for, especially when we talk about snacks. There's always a lot of fun snacks and single items to get, but like in general, like whole restaurants, I feel like even if they come out of the gates with a bang, like I really loved Pecos Bill a couple years ago when they finally relaunched kind of their Tex-Mex style and went with more of like a Chipotle inspired menu with bowls and such like that. And it feels like every time I go back now, it just gets slightly worse.
They took the guacamole away.
I'm not surprised when they take stuff away, but then again, I was also coming into the park with bags and then just scooping guacamole in there. So
well, he'd bring his Frito, Tostitos.
Yeah,
chips, scoops.
I'm partially to the blame on that, but no, I just there's a lot of examples like that, and with the table service restaurants, I feel like they specifically at Magic Kingdom, there's a lot that are hit or miss, I think Liberty Tree Tavern, maybe sometimes you can have a good meal there, and then other times you hear horror stories. Same thing with Tony's, more straightforward horror stories on that. I like Skipper Canteen, but I know I'm in the minority on that it's not beloved by everyone. We all know the story of Be Our Guest, depending on breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's just, there's a lot of hit or miss, and it's something that at the premier park of Walt Disney World, I feel like instead of being really good at making select food options, they should be good at everything.
Sometimes it just feels that because they know they're the Magic Kingdom and because they know that people are going there regardless and that they have to eat somewhere when they're there usually, that they drop the ball with it, where like they don't push themselves as much as maybe some of the other parks do. They give theme park quality, and I know they're a theme park, but theme park quality is not usually a plus in your head. You kind of want to see them reaching for something higher, especially at their flagship park.
Well, yeah, and I feel like at that park, and I haven't ever eaten at Tony's or the Plaza, but I feel like the palate always seems to cave into like burgers and hot dogs, like a very simple, plain, like I feel like we're living in this time where I want to try more adventurous things. And I'm not saying to exclude those people who aren't adventurous eaters too. Some of my best friends are very, my friend Nicole will only have like a cheeseburger with ketchup. And I'm like, come on. But it's one of those things where like, I still want to see, I feel like I'm always backed in a corner at Magic Kingdom. Like you can probably go to Skipper Canteen or maybe, I just lost which one was the other one I was going to say, but I feel like I can't go to any of the other ones ever unless I've planned it 6 months ahead.
Right.
Whereas some of the other parks, I feel like you can go and you can probably still get in that day. But when they started this whole advanced dining reservation garbage they did years ago, like, I'm okay with that being an option, but I hated it when they said you could only get sat in restaurants and eat and dine in these places by doing an advanced dining.
And it's such a battle to get a reservation.
Yeah.
People are planning it so far ahead because it's their Magic Kingdom day, and that's what they, the good choices are limited.
So that's restaurants. But the next thing on our list here is we said the top 3. This is in the top 3 of the worst things about Magic Kingdom is getting to and from the park. Now,
oh, gosh.
I am not. I am of two minds about this. I do think it is a very magical experience to, the monorail is an iconic mode of transportation. I'm not on about the monorail. I'm not on about the ferry boat, because when I was a kid, we would like to go out on the ferry boat. But sweet baby Mickey, if you are trying to get, if you just, it is the park that takes me 90 minutes to get from my door into the park. And I know people are in Michigan right now being like, ugh, shut up. But my thing is, I live only about 30 minutes away, and it used to take me from door to clocking in the back of Hollywood Studios when I was a cast member, 32 minutes. And so I hate that it takes me 3 times as long just to make it into the main entrance of Magic Kingdom, when it's just one of those things where I'm just like, it's not a good start for anybody's trip either. It becomes a very stressful environment, especially the way I feel like the parking's been going at Magic Kingdom. You come in through the turnstiles, you've got to all merge down into this one lane when it's got 7 lanes to start with, and then you're going to get parked as far away as you can because they want people to pay for preferred parking. So then you got to wait for the tram, and nobody's stopping boarding when they're saying stop boarding. So you're waiting forever for the tram. Then you got to go through your security checkpoint there. Then you got to wait for this monorail that doesn't work, or this ferry that takes forever. And then you're in the park, and already your child is having a nervous breakdown, because I am your child having that nervous breakdown.
See, it's not the mode of transportation getting there that bothers me. I can let all that go. It's once I'm on my feet, out of however I got there, and trying to get through the sea of humanity to get through the gate.
Yeah.
And the same way in reverse, coming out.
Like when the monorails open up and everyone's going down that hill, and you're like, oh, please don't trip. Please don't trip.
Right.
I say it every time.
And everybody funnels down to that one little entrance, and then it's a free for all trying to, what gate do I want? And the same coming out, especially at the end of the day after the parades and after the fireworks and everyone's rushing to leave.
The end of the night it really sucks the magic out of the end of the day when you start to think about everyone else is leaving now too.
And that's the worst part about that return trip at the end, is that you've had this hopefully magical day, and so you want that to be the last memory you have, and then you're like, no, the last memory I have is going to be going through this crowd,
dragging my ass up that incline to the monorail.
I go to the Magic Kingdom.
Can I say that?
I don't know.
We'll see. I go to the Magic Kingdom a lot at the same time as Steve Porter.
She has her support donkey with her most times during the park. There we go.
Support burro.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll go at the same time as Steve Porter, and we'll meet and do some stuff at the Magic Kingdom and everything. And he lives, I think, 20 minutes away from the Magic Kingdom.
He lives pretty close. Yeah.
I live 50, give or take traffic, 50 to an hour. We'll leave at the same time, and we'll get through the gates within 5 minutes of each other, because he's driving and doing all of that stuff, and I am Ubering over to the Contemporary and sitting down and having a nice coffee for a second, putting my earbuds in, listening to music, and then walking over there. I've had a very relaxing journey when Steve has just been parking and walking through crowd after crowd and getting on stuff, and we there's a 40-minute difference in the extra amount of time that it takes him for me just leisurely walking in with my iced coffee.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't have much more to offer with that, except saying we are a society now that is used to, I think, more fast-paced lifestyles. And while it would be great to just cut off and be like, you know what? I want to relax, and I want to be able to be okay with taking it slow. I think it's just something that even when you're on vacation, you only have such a small limited time that it's an antiquated idea that it will take forever to get over there. Like, you're lucky if you're staying on property, so you can take a bus over and get dropped off very quickly, or staying at one of the resort loops so you can get dropped off quickly. But if you're off property, doing anything like that, you're wasting precious vacation hours just to get to Magic Kingdom, and it's a shame that happens, but it's a reality.
Part of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like we have like an option to be like, oh, do this instead, because I don't want those things to go away. I don't want the ferry or the monorail. I just wish there was a kind of an option for somebody who was like, I've done it 70, 100 times. I can move on. But anyway, that also, we've kind of alluded to some other things here. The crowds, I feel like it can be, especially, I am not good in the heat at all, and the older I'm getting, the worse I'm getting with heat, and I already have like an agoraphobic issue, and so like when I start heating up, and then you get a certain number of just people who have vacation brain going on, and you're getting all dumped out and funneling down this tiny thing, it can be incredibly stressful. Like, and not just for somebody who knows where they're going. If this was my first trip here, it would be a very stressful either start or experience sometimes. Like I was lucky to go to a DVC party like a week back, and they were doing, they wanted people, there was a check-in behind the Magic Kingdom in Liberty Tree Square, and, Liberty Tree Square? Did I just say that? Yeah,
You did.
I sure did, didn't I? Yeah, Liberty Tree Square. But there was a check-in back there, and it was there was no walkway to get through. You couldn't get through anywhere. I couldn't get down Main Street. I tried to go through the buildings, and I actually got stuck in the middle of a walkway with people whose bodies started pushing against my chest and against my back and my side. And I was with Craig's wife, Kylie, and she got separated from me, and she was starting to carry through, but I got caught, and literally like all I could feel was like bodies starting to push on me. And I was like, okay, I need to know that I've come here a million times, and that this will be a memory soon, and not have a panic attack right now. But I can just imagine what it was like for those other people who don't know how to calm down like that.
That's why Stella can't usually do the Magic Kingdom unless it's a special event because of the crowds.
That actually happens to me depending on my mood or anything like that. There are times where it's too crowded, and it's not so much the fun Magic Kingdom noise, but it's like the shouting and the talking, and then everybody around. There are times where I'm fine with this, but I'll just look at how crowded it is and be like, I got to bug out. I got to come back like when I'm better, or I can always come back on one of the slow days during the slow season, which totally exists.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if you can push through the barrier, I feel like a lot of times it's worth it on the other side. Yeah. And that's what I always try to tell myself. If you can just get through, like for me, it's the cluster of that getting in the parks. It's not just getting in and out, but it's like, and then if I can get down and there's not a Move It, Shake It, Celebrate It or some parade going on or anything, and I can somehow just make it into that Main Street, like into the hub area or something, I'm just like, it's like you can breathe. So it's like you have to learn how to hold your breath for 50 minutes. I don't know. Craig, how do you feel about crowds? You love them, don't you?
It's just one of those things. It's
part
another
of the territory.
Yeah, it's
You're standing above them though, looking over their head.
Yeah, I think the issue is more that the Magic Kingdom is designed as a place to take in, and if it's too crowded, you can't do that properly. So the work that a lot of people put into making this place the magical kingdom that it is completely lost, because I mean, obviously it's a business and they want it to be crowded, but I don't know if they wanted it to be, and I don't have attendance records, so I'm not sure what average crowds were back in the 70s and what they actually expected it to be and stuff. So this is all just based on my feeling, but I feel like they never intended it to be a place where you were crushed in like a can of sardines.
And you're just like moving with the crowd, and you can't, because if you stop,
how do you cross the street?
Yeah, or just to try to look at something.
You ever like look at a place, your destination across the way, and you're like, okay, there's like Charles, I'm gonna get to Charles, and you go to start crossing, but then you end up like 10 feet in front of him because you have to like circle back around.
There's something Craig mentioned, and a specific example of it just flashed into my brain is that Pirates is one of my favorite rides. I love Pirates of the Caribbean. And I was there recently, within the last year, and I was looking forward to seeing it for the 50,000th time, but the entire front of it and the entire front of the gift shop next to it just had rows and rows of like people sitting on the ground and sitting on the ledges, like with like backpacks and like strollers and everything like that. But it was just like people camped out in front of it. They weren't waiting in line or waiting to get to the gift shop. They were resting. And the thing is, I couldn't even see the front facade of anything, and it totally took me out of the I'm a pirate adventure mode. And it's just like, I know there's an attraction somewhere in there, but it looked like a bunch of people like fleeing some catastrophe or something, just like camped out on the front of it. And yeah, so sometimes the crowds like ruin the amount of theming that you're supposed to get with there's no line of sight theming if you just can't see anything.
And it's even like down to plain guest service. Like I can't speak for what Walt was like in terms of how he ran Disneyland and what he expected it, but come fireworks time, when you have a bunch of people waving their flashlights in the air, I'm talking about cast members specifically, and I'm not pinning this on them. It's the only way they can keep crowd control as good as they do, and even then, it's usually a hot freaking mess 90% of the time. But it requires them screaming at people, waving flashlights in the air. And that's like one of those moments where you step back and like, would Walt be proud of this right now? Seeing like, I don't know. I only know about him what I see in movies and read in books. I can't believe that he would condone his employees screaming.
I don't think he would have been
crowd control.
Yeah, I don't think he would have been one for raising voices. Period. I think he would have. It would have taken you out of that. The whole idea is everything was supposed to be an elevation above a theme park or carnival, park, right? Yeah, and because that was the whole thing with alcohol, was that he felt like it attracted rowdy people, and they didn't want that type of an atmosphere. But yelling, barking as it's called, is not something I don't think he would have been into either. But that we're gonna turn it around right here. Because the number one thing that's the worst thing about the Magic Kingdom is having to leave it at the end of your vacation. I think there is nothing sadder than if that's the last park you go to. And I feel like if I were the one designing the vacation, it probably would be, because the last thing I want to have in my memory and sightline and feeling is like watching the fireworks or like leaving. I am all about these parks at night, and they are a whole nother character at night. And just, I love that, the lighting and everything. And just, I want that feeling to leave, like that warm little cookie that you take with you that you leave, and you're like,
Unless you're the biggest curmudgeon in the world, I feel like the Magic Kingdom becomes part of you once you get to experience Walt Disney World. And every time you have to leave it and go home and you don't get to come back for a while, it's like you're leaving that piece of you behind. That's only complete when you're back there.
And there is something
like underwear,
like to kind of mitigate what we were talking about, leaving with the crowds and everything. While everybody is going in there, they're getting on the monorail, and I know that I'm going to have like a bit of a process leaving. On the way out from Main Street, sometimes I'll just sit and look around and get wistful, because at night with the music and everything, and it starts to thin out as everybody's leaving, and you can kind of just take in your surroundings. And like, I don't know, I'm assuming every one of us has done it at some point, but you just stop and kind of stretch that memory out and save it for as long as you possibly can before you have to start that long journey home. And it's just such a wonderful, beautiful moment that to put the finishing touches on your trip, so.
Yeah, well, there you have it. Those are our top 4 worst things about Magic Kingdom. We have restaurants at number 4, getting to and from the park at number 3, crowds at number 2, and having to say goodbye at number 1. That is going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys for having this conversation. Thank you and everyone out there for listening and watching. If you are listening on iTunes, please feel free to rate and review the podcast. If you are watching on YouTube, you can leave us a comment about your top 4. If we missed something, not your top 4, you can just give us one of one of the things that you don't like about Magic Kingdom, or that gives you that sad feeling in there. And feel free to subscribe to the channel, and that will do it. We will see you next time with another episode of the best and worst of Walt Disney World.